In May, I made a video about Wednesday's graduation timeline. The central argument was that the show was being deliberately vague about Wednesday's grade, and that the most structurally coherent reading placed season 3 as senior year, which would mean graduation was coming faster than most people expected, and that Netflix had a decision to make about what this show looks like on the other side of Nevermore. This week, Jenna Ortega sat down with Esquire for their Mavericks of Hollywood September issue and said this: "This season, especially because the kids are seniors in high school now, we're dealing with more confrontational feelings regarding family and what it means to be an adult and what you see for your life. It's not really until you get to the precipice of adulthood that you start to realize, oh God, well, maybe I've got to have a plan." Senior year confirmed by the person playing Wednesday, Addams, in the issue that hits newsstands on August 25th. But that quote does more than confirm the timeline. It describes what season 3 is actually about, and that changes some of what I said in May. I'm Raphael CG, this is Wednesday Universe, and
let's get into it.
The May video made 3 main arguments. First, the show was deliberately keeping Wednesday's grade vague because locking it down too precisely would start a clock the writers weren't ready to commit to. Every time Netflix gets flexibility on a timeline, they take it. Second, the most structurally coherent reading placed season 1 as sophomore year, season 2 as junior year, and season 3 as senior year. The alternative, season 1 as freshman year, required Wednesday arriving at Nevermore at 15, which contradicted the feel of her character. She doesn't move through Nevermore like someone discovering high school. She moves through it like someone who's already exhausted by the concept. Third, season 3 was probably where the show would start preparing the audience for life beyond Nevermore, without necessarily resolving that question yet. The world outside the school had been getting bigger. The Addams family history, the outcast politics, whatever Ophelia represents, and that expansion usually signals that writers know they're going to need more space eventually. Jenna's quote confirms the timeline argument directly. The kids are seniors. Season 1 was sophomore year. The third argument about season 3 beginning to prepare the audience emotionally turns out to be more accurate than I expected, because the way Jenna describes it, season 3 isn't just set during senior year, it's explicitly about what senior year means. So, the graduation confirmation is the headline. The more interesting part of the quote is what comes after it. We're dealing with more confrontational feelings regarding family and what it means to be an adult and what you see for your life. It's not really until you get to the precipice of adulthood that you start to realize, oh God, well, maybe I've got to have a plan. And that's not a description of a murder mystery at a boarding school. That's a description of a character reckoning with what she's becoming. Every major storyline confirmed for season 3 maps onto that theme in a specific way. Ophelia, a woman who was locked away before she ever got to decide what her adult life looked like. Her entire arc is the consequence of a family that made that decision for her. Wednesday meeting her at the start of her own senior year, at exactly the moment she's supposed to be thinking about what comes next, is not a coincidence the show stumbled into. Paris, Wednesday, away from Nevermore for the first time in the largest city the show has ever used, doing something that has nothing to do with school. That's what adult life looks like in broad strokes. You leave the institution, you go somewhere, you figure out what you're actually capable of when the structure isn't there anymore. The Addams family reckoning the secrets on both sides of her family coming to the surface at exactly the moment she's supposed to be, forming her own sense of who she is and what she wants. Season 3 isn't just senior year as a calendar fact, it's using senior year as a thematic engine. The graduation quote isn't the only thing worth pulling from the Esquire interview. Jenna described the season 1 shoot in Romania, the cast joking about how bizarre it was that such a technically demanding production seemed to be going completely unnoticed. It felt like this small little thing, she said, which maybe was naive because Tim Burton was involved, but the cast and I used to laugh about it like, wow, this is an insane shoot for it to really not be acknowledged. Then she described watching part of the first episode after it came out, having a breakdown and calling a friend. I can't stand to watch myself, she said. I saw part of the first episode, had a mental breakdown, called my friend Matt. I was like, it's up. Like, okay, here we go. The reason this matters for the graduation debate is what it reveals about Jenna's relationship to the show itself. She didn't arrive at Wednesday knowing it would be this. She arrived thinking it might end her career. The creative decisions she's made since, pushing back against against the love triangle, becoming executive producer, shaping season 2 from the inside, came from someone who was terrified this role would close doors, not open them. The version of Jenna who pushed the showrunners to let Wednesday be more gothic, less romantic, more herself, is the same person who thought she was walking into a career-ending mistake. That context changes how you read the graduation question. When Jenna describes season 3 as being about what you see for your life and needing to have a plan, she's not speaking abstractly. She's describing something she's actually lived. The precipice of adulthood, the moment when you realize the structure you've been operating inside is about to end, the specific anxiety of not knowing what comes next. Wednesday's senior year, written by a 23-year-old who went from "I thought my career was over" to the most watched Netflix series in history in about 2 years, is going to have that specific texture in it. Quick note, if you're enjoying the videos and want to support the channel, I've just launched a membership area called Nevermore Student. You get custom Wednesday badges next to your name in comments, exclusive emojis to use across the channel, and you're directly supporting more content like this. It's $2.99 a month. Just click the join button below the video or on the channel page if you'd like to support the channel and be part of the community. Now let's get back to the video. With the timeline confirmed, the question from May sharpens. Season 3 is senior year. That means graduation is coming, and the show has to decide what it is on the other side of that. The May video offered 4 seasons as the most structurally clean prediction: sophomore, junior, senior, then a transition season that moved beyond Nevermore. That still holds. If anything, Jenna's description of season 3 as being about the precipice of adulthood suggests the show is actively building toward that transition rather than trying to delay it. The more interesting question now is what season 4 looks like if it exists. The show has been expanding the world beyond Nevermore consistently. The Addams family history, the wider outcast community, whatever European infrastructure season 3 is establishing in Paris. If season 4 is the first season where Wednesday is no longer a student, the writers have been laying the groundwork for it for at least 2 seasons already. Jenna's quote also changes the Nevermore versus world debate from the May video. The argument against Wednesday leaving Nevermore was that the school's atmosphere is doing enormous work for the show's identity. The gothic architecture, the uniforms, the specific social ecosystem of outcasts living together, that's still true. But if season 3 is explicitly about confronting what adulthood looks like and what you want for your life, keeping Wednesday frozen at Nevermore after graduation would undercut the theme the show is currently building toward. Senior year that's genuinely about becoming an adult leads somewhere. The question is whether Netflix lets it go there. So, 2 arguments from the May video still hold exactly as I made them then. The first is the Stranger Things problem. The actors age whether the show wants them to or not. Jenna Ortega is 23. She's been playing a 16-year-old for 4 years. There's a version of this where the show keeps Wednesday frozen in high school for 6 seasons and the audience starts feeling the strain of it. Not consciously, but in the way you feel it with any show that's stretching a teenage timeline longer than it naturally should. Jenna's Esquire interview came from a September 2026 issue titled Mavericks of Hollywood. She's already framed publicly as someone who's moved beyond the character in her own career even while still playing her. That tension doesn't go away by pretending the school year is eternal. The second is the franchise argument. Netflix renewed season 3 before season 2 aired. The Uncle Fester spinoff is in development. These are not the moves of a company that thinks this story ends in 2 more seasons, and franchises that expand through spinoffs need the main character to have a world big enough to justify the expansion. Wednesday's world gets smaller the longer she stays inside one boarding school in Vermont. Season 3 in Paris is the show proving it knows that. The line that caught me most in the Esquire interview wasn't about Wednesday at all. Jenna said, "I was 7 years old when I said I wanted to do this. My parents laughed at me when I told them that I wanted to do it. And then that kind of was the root of everything, the motivation. And I never really stopped because I'm very stubborn, and then I never questioned it." And she's describing Wednesday, the character who arrived at age 7 with a certainty about who she was and never questioned it. The character who is now in senior year, supposedly facing the question of what comes after, supposedly confronting more confrontational feelings regarding family and what it means to be an adult. The interesting thing about that framing is what it suggests season 3 is actually testing, not whether Wednesday can solve the mystery, not whether she can defeat the threat, whether someone who arrived fully formed, who never questioned herself, never needed external validation to know who she was, that can navigate a moment when the structure that contained her disappears. That's what senior year is. That's what graduation is. The institution ends and you find out what you are without it. The show has been building to that question for 3 seasons. Jenna's quote from Esquire is the first time anyone involved in the production has said out loud that season 3 is where the question gets asked directly. So, the May video predicted graduation around season 4 and season 3 as the beginning of the emotional preparation for what comes after. That prediction holds. What Jenna's Esquire interview adds is the specific texture of how season 3 is doing that preparation, not by having Wednesday talk about graduation, but by making the entire thematic architecture of the season about the thing that graduation forces on a person. What do you want for your life? What does adulthood look like for you specifically? What's the plan? Those are questions Wednesday Addams has never had to answer because Nevermore always provided the context. Senior year removes the context. Season 4, whatever it is, will be the first season without it. If I were updating the May prediction now, it's this. Season 3 is the most thematically coherent season the show has made, specifically because the senior year framework gives every major storyline, or Ophelia Paris, the Addams family reckoning, the wider outcast world, a single organizing question underneath it. What does Wednesday Addams become when the institution ends? Season 4 is where she finds out. I want to know what you think now that the timeline is confirmed. Does senior year change how you're reading season 3? And what do you actually want Wednesday to look like after Nevermore? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to subscribe. There's another video right here to continue. I'll see you there.